Hello.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. So my Nigerian friends tell me that I often don't greet people before I just start talking, so thank you for coming. I came halfway across the world to talk to you for 15 minutes. And so I'm hoping that you can give me some energy back. Is this our clicker? Click. Click. Okay, so this starts with a simple premise that tomorrow can be better than today. Because today, all of our digital payments are tracked. And we are told that this is for our protection. And yet, all that data is bundled up and sold to the highest bidder. And today, the money in your bank account isn't yours. And so this Lebanese woman is holding up a bank with a toy gun to get possession of her money back. And today, any government has the means to extrajudicially freeze or seize your funds if you speak out against them. And so if you think that these are ridiculous things in our modern times, if you believe that we need change, then I hope you will join me and choose Bitcoin. Yeah, this is maybe not too compelling for a Bitcoin conference. We've heard these things before. There are many memes of Bitcoin fixes this, fix the money, fix the world, Bitcoin's inevitable. But do you actually believe that you can just kick up your feet and these things are going to happen for you with the passage of time? I'd like to speak with you for the rest of the time I have about what I feel is one of the truest and purest ways to opt into Bitcoin, and that is choose Bitcoin open source as a career. So there are 150 people on the planet that have made this kind of choice. That's 150 people holding up the entire infrastructure of how this stuff works. About 40 of them work on Bitcoin Core. And I'm here for one specific purpose. I'm on the hunt for 151. So 151 probably knows that money has been around as long as society itself. But isn't it awe-inspiring to imagine that we're reinventing money from scratch in an open digital form rather than contorting our old money into something ostensibly digital? Bitcoin is not a refactor. Bitcoin is a rewrite. And so, while Bitcoin is a peaceful resistance, it is a resistance nonetheless. The cypherpunks talked about this idea for decades, and then one of them went out and made it. And there are 150 of us that believe that we can pull off one of the biggest hacks of all time to replace the global money with a new money, a better money. We are an ideologically driven group of nerds who think that we can do better. It's okay to clap, that's all right. So I would say that this is a pretty unique period in the arc of this project. And to be perfectly frank, I'm not so sure that we're going to be able to reach our audacious goal of replacing the global standard with this newfangled internet money. But you got to admit, we've gotten pretty far. To take it the rest of the way, we need to build something that can weather the changes of history and outlive us all. This is the Mosque of Djenné. It's in Mali. It's the largest mud brick structure in the world. As you probably can imagine, mud is not an amazing material to build something that you want to last a long time. And so what's interesting about this is that its survival, the building's survival, depends on the attention and care of the community. So every year, there's a festival called Kpass, and thousands of people climb up on wooden scaffolding and apply mud plaster and essentially rebuild the walls every year. Thousands more support them by handing up mud balls through human chains up to them. Some cook, Others play music to fuel the work. Everybody does their part. So this festival, it has a functional purpose to reinforce the building's infrastructure. But it also serves as a really important cultural event because every year it connects this community to both the meaning behind the mosque and it reaffirms the social bonds among them. So Bitcoin, like the Mosque of Janneh, was built in a pretty brittle material, C++ code. That's a programming joke. But it also had a long-term vision. The halvings of which you're looking at the code of were programmed until 2140. Have you ever heard of a piece of software that in its first release was supposed to last over 100 years? And so from the beginning, this was not a move fast and break things endeavor. The cryptography is battle tested. The pace of development is deliberate because this is our one chance. And so what I think outsiders miss, for people that aren't philosophically grounded, for people that are focused on the price, what they miss is all the work that goes into smoothing over the cracks. So you, as 151, you're not going to be spinning up a new repo, coming in to save the day with a new feature. What's needed is the uncelebrated support of others. 151 needs to carry mud. That's writing fuzz tests. That's attesting to reproducible builds. That's doing review. That's doing all the work that keeps this thing going. The maintenance of this project serves a functional role. But it also connects us to why this is meaningful in the first place. It's a ritual affirmation of the project's meaning. And without the support of the community, the philosophical continuity of what this thing is will be lost and Bitcoin will fall. So I think Bitcoin is far from inevitable. These are some disclosures that have come out over the last few months from the Bitcoin core devs. And these vulnerabilities go back almost a decade. They've just sort of been taken care of and not necessarily released publicly. But they are objective proof that while Bitcoin Core has a very high bar for its quality and its reliability, it is far from a perfect piece of software. To be fair, keeping this thing alive and doing all this work, that falls on the shoulders of about 40 people. And these people don't do it for prestige. I doubt you know any of their names. They do it because, despite what you're going to read on Twitter, they are the most optimistic Bitcoiners on the planet, doing what they think needs to be done to keep this thing going. Applying mud plaster to the cracks that they see and inspiring us, I believe, with a project that will stand the test of time. Banks recognize borders, but Bitcoin open source does not. And so if you are interested in contributing, there's no HR screens, no resume to send anything to. You can jump in. So I'm going to talk about a few people who have inspired me working on this project. The first one is Asana. Asana has been working on Bitcoin for the last few years, and she works on Bitcoin Core and also has done some privacy research. And I think, personally, she's one of the most promising developers in Bitcoin. And that's not because she has a lot of experience, because she doesn't. She's a self-taught programmer. She's taken a few high school classes. But she is incredibly ambitious and essentially unflappable, and she is insanely smart. And so Bitcoin open source isn't about your credentials. It's not about your resume. It's about what you can contribute. Because Ashana's first contribution that was merged into Core came at the age of 14. And Asana is an important part of our future. And Bitcoin is better because Asana is here. This is SpaceBear. SpaceBear has been working on PayJoin, which is a privacy protocol that they're looking to integrate into wallets. And SpaceBear is obviously a NIM. And NIMs are totally welcome. You don't have to have a face. That's totally fine. And SpaceBear cares about privacy. You know how I know? Because SpaceBear works on privacy. And so you get to choose the thing that's of most personal importance. And Bitcoin is better because SpaceBear is here. And this is Abacar. And Abacar has been working on Bitcoin Core for the last couple years. And I'm really excited about this young man's future. He is on a mission to solve the fee estimation issues in the Bitcoin Core wallet. So we've been waiting for, well, really since the beginning of this project, so 15 plus years, for a full-time Bitcoin Core developer to emerge from this part of the world. And I would have never guessed that some 20-year-old from Abuja, Nigeria, with a short resume and a mild manner would be the one that would break through. But the beauty of it is that it just doesn't matter what I think. Abacar matters, and Abacar has blazed a trail for others to follow. And so clearly, Bitcoin is better because Abacar is here. There's no mystery as to how to become valuable in Bitcoin open source. If you do work in support of others, if you do review, if you try to pick up things that have been left behind, you will create immense leverage for your effort. And I think one of the things that gets missed is that this is totally open. Anyone can jump in. We also have another really strong selling point, and that is we have just the best problems. So Bitcoin sits at the intersection of economics and game theory, philosophy, security, and of course, computer science. Tens of thousands of nodes are running on strangers' desks and Raspberry Pis and Amazon data centers, gossiping blocks and transactions in the most adversarial environment ever conceived. And while Bitcoin is a monster challenge, it's not just like an academic style challenge. It's not just theoretical. Bitcoin is the largest honeypot in history, a $2 trillion market, a $2 trillion target that has had no downtime in the last 10 years. So Bitcoin, I believe, is a good idea and offers people an opportunity to join a legacy of troublemakers trying to do something positive in the world. And so if this speaks to you, this is something you'd like to pursue, I have two very biased suggestions on where to go next. The first one is the Bitcoin Dev project. So if you go to Bitcoin Devs, you're going to find reading and tutorials. We just released a new game, which I think is incredible. It's called Saving Satoshi. You should check that out. Jamal has been working on some great tutorials. And I would just caution you on one thing when it comes to this kind of self-starter and autodidactic path. And that is, when you do reading and when you do tutorials and sort of toys, you sometimes delude yourself to think that you're making actionable progress. But if you came to do open source, then work on open source, which means download the project, run the software, find bugs, and fix it for everybody else. So the other thing is a program that we ran in January. And just so there was no confusion as to what this program's purpose was, we called it Start Your Career in Bitcoin Open Source. Not very creative, but at least you get the point. And the deliverable of this was not a good educational experience, although I think that we did deliver on that. The deliverable on this was to change people's lives, to find people who were not working in open source and get them funded and start a new career path for them. And so here are 8 that followed that exact track. None of them were working on Bitcoin open source, and they're funded by 5 different organizations. Special thanks to Spiral and OpenSats and the like for taking a chance on these developers. Yeah, I could clap for that too. And so we know that there's many more of them out there, and so we're going to run this again in partnership with BTrust. So at the end of this month, by the end of this month, applications will close, and we'll start in mid-January. And the goal of this is to change lives. So, are you living in the future that you want for yourself and those you love? A future where all of our digital payments are tracked. A future where our money in our bank account actually isn't our money. A future where governments have the means to confiscate your funds if you speak out against them. The powers that be are rooting for us to fail. They are waiting to tell us that we were wrong, that our little toys of no real use, and that we have to turn back to the status quo that values things like birthplace over brilliance. And so all that remains is to ask the question, are you 151? You'll have a chance to join up with Asana, SpaceBear, and Abacar to make real change. Because it is you that understands these problems better than anyone else. It is you that understands cross-border transactions. It is you that understands all the hacks that you have to go through on a daily basis because you have been left on the outside. And so we need your energy and we need your perspectives to be able to solve the problems that Bitcoin was designed for. If you've made it through the last 15 minutes, then you have all the tailwinds behind you to have a successful career. But the question is, when you look back, when you reflect on your professional life, will it matter? If you are 151, it is my job to help you. And so I hope you will join us in January, but if you don't have the patience to make it that long, you can come find me in the halls. I'm not sure that Bitcoin fixes this. I'm not sure that Bitcoin cures all the ills of our modern society, but we have this gift. We have this brief moment in time when we can build something better. What we need are people who are willing to change their personal narrative from passive cheerleader to active contributor. And Bitcoin will be better when you are here. Thank you.